The first sign that my life was about to fracture came wrapped in something deceptively ordinary, a plain white envelope, no stamp, no return address, just my name written in careful block letters. I remember the exact moment because everything about that afternoon had felt safe, predictable, controlled. Every Thursday at 3:15 p.m., I sat in the same corner booth of a small roadside cafe just outside Ashford, Colorado. It wasn't trendy or charming in any intentional way. The coffee was mediocre, the chairs creaked, and the wallpaper had started to peel at the edges. But it smelled like cinnamon and old wood, and more importantly, it asked nothing of me. After my husband passed, I learned to treasure places that didn't ask questions. That day, my daughter-in-law, Sienna, sat across from me, her posture too straight, her smile too rehearsed. My son, Caleb, sat beside her, nodding along to everything she said like a man trying to keep peace rather than speak truth. "You shouldn't be out there alone anymore, Naomi," Sienna said, stirring her coffee without ever taking a sip. "That property is a lot. A lot. 43 years of my life reduced to a lot. I've managed it this long," I replied calmly. "I don't see why that suddenly changed." Caleb cleared his throat. "It's not about capability, Mom. It's about practicality. Taxes are rising. Maintenance is getting harder. Winters aren't exactly forgiving out there." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Funny. The winters never seemed to bother me when your father was alive." That shut him up for a moment. Sienna leaned forward slightly, lowering her voice like she was sharing concern, not strategy. "We're just thinking long-term. Maybe it's time to simplify your life."
Simplify. Sell the land.
Move into something smaller, closer, controlled. I'd heard this conversation before, just never this polished. Before I could respond, something shifted beside me. Not loudly, not dramatically, just presence. A woman stood there, late 50s, maybe early 60s. Silver hair pulled tight, dark coat despite the mild weather. But it was her eyes that stopped me, focused, unwavering. Like she had already decided something about me long before I noticed her. "Naomi Carter," she said. Not a question. My stomach tightened. "Yes." She placed the envelope on the table between us. Her fingers lingered for half a second too long before she let go. "You'll need this tonight," she said quietly.
A chill crawled up my spine.
"What is this?" I asked. "Don't open it here." Her voice wasn't dramatic. It wasn't urgent. It was certain. I stood slightly, ready to ask more, but she was already turning away. No hesitation. No explanation. Just gone. By the time I reached the door, she had disappeared into the late afternoon crowd like she had never been there. "Mom," Caleb's voice pulled me back. "Everything okay?" I looked at the envelope, then at them, and for reasons I didn't yet understand, I lied. "Yeah," I said quickly, sliding it into my bag. "Just someone asking for directions." Sienna watched me a second longer than necessary. Not convinced. The drive home felt off. Not dangerous. Not obvious. Just wrong in a way I couldn't explain. When they dropped me off at the end of my long gravel driveway, neither of them offered to come inside. They never refused before. I stood there, watching their car disappear into the trees, the silence settling around me like something alive. For the first time in years, home didn't feel like home. It felt like something was waiting. I didn't open the envelope right away. I wish I could tell you it was caution or intelligence that stopped me, but the truth is simpler. It was fear. Not loud, panicked fear. Not the kind that makes you run. The quiet kind. The kind that sits in your chest and whispers, once you know, you can't unknow. My house stood at the far end of the property, exactly where it had always been. White siding, deep green shutters, the porch Caleb's father had built with his own hands. Every nail in that place carried a memory. But that evening, as I stepped inside and locked the door, something I hadn't done regularly before, those memories didn't comfort me. They watched. I placed my bag on the kitchen table. The envelope sat inside it like it had weight far beyond paper. Like it belonged to something larger than me. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, brushing against the windows with a low, restless sound. The kind of sound you usually ignore. I didn't ignore it that night. I made tea out of habit.
Chamomile.
My hands moved automatically, kettle, cup, honey, but I never drank it. It sat there, steam fading, forgotten. Time dragged. 7:12 p.m. 7:48 p.m. 8:03 p.m. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that this was nothing, a misunderstanding, a mistake. But then, why did she know my name? Why that tone? At 8:26, I finally sat down across from the envelope. I stared at it like it might speak first. Get a grip, Naomi, I muttered under my breath. My voice sounded unfamiliar in the empty house. Slowly, I slid my finger under the flap. The paper tore softly, too loud in the silence. Inside, there were only two things: a small,
Cold metal key.
and a folded strip of notebook paper. I unfolded it carefully. The handwriting was precise, controlled. No wasted strokes. 11:32 p.m.
Answer.
Do not call back. That was it. No name. No explanation. Just instructions. My throat went dry. I checked the clock on the stove. 8:31. 3 hours. 3 long, suffocating hours. Answer what? I whispered. No response. Of course not. I stood up abruptly and locked the back door. Then the windows. Every single one. Halfway through, I paused. Why was I doing this? I'd lived here for decades. Nothing like this had ever happened. But something deep inside me, the part that had learned to listen when things didn't make sense, was already moving ahead of logic. By 9:15, I tried to distract myself. Laundry. Dishes. Anything. It didn't work. By 10 o'clock, I was back at the table. The key sat in front of me now.
Old. Heavy.
Not something modern. The edges worn smooth, like it had been used for years, maybe decades. I turned it over in my palm. What is this open? And why me? At 11 o'clock, I turned off all the lights except the one above the sink. The kitchen shrank into shadows. My phone lay face up on the table.
Silent.
Waiting. 11:29. My heart started to pound. 11:30. Too loud. 11:31. I stopped breathing. 11:32. The phone rang. The sound cut through the house like glass shattering. I flinched so hard my chair scraped back violently. Unknown number. No caller ID. My hand hovered over the screen for half a second too long. Then I answered. Hello? At first, nothing. Just breathing. Slow. Measured. Too close to the microphone. Then, Naomi. My entire body went cold. I knew that voice. Not just recognized it. Felt it. 40 years of memories surged at once. Laughter. Arguments. Quiet mornings. Whispered promises. No, I breathed. Because that voice belonged to my husband, who had been dead for over a year. Do not trust Caleb, the voice said, distorted, but unmistakable. Do not trust Sienna. My knees nearly gave out. This isn't funny, I whispered, gripping the table.
Who is this?
You are not safe in that house, the voice continued, ignoring me. The land, that's why they want it. My chest tightened painfully. What are you talking about? A pause. Then softer. I don't have much time. The line crackled. My death wasn't an accident. Everything inside me shattered at once. If they force you out, the voice continued, fading in and out, everything I hid disappears. Hid what? I begged. Tell me what you mean. The truth is beneath you, Naomi. The static surged. They're closer than you think. The call cut off. Silence. Complete. Violent silence. I stood there, frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear. Then slowly, I pulled it away and checked the screen. No call log. No number. Nothing. Like it never happened. But my hands were shaking. My chest ached. And deep in my bones, I knew one thing with terrifying certainty. My husband hadn't just died. He had been silenced. And whatever he died for was still right beneath my feet. I didn't sleep. Not even for a second. I sat at the kitchen table until sunrise, the key still clenched in my hand, the phone lying in front of me like it might ring again if I stared hard enough. It didn't. But the silence wasn't empty anymore. It was crowded, with questions, with memories, with something dark slowly rearranging everything I thought I knew. By the time morning light slipped through the curtains, I had come to one conclusion I couldn't ignore. If that call wasn't real, then I was losing my mind. But if it was real, then the people closest to me were part of something I didn't understand yet. And that was far worse. At 8:07 a.m., I heard tires crunching against gravel. I didn't need to look. I already knew. Caleb never used to show up unannounced. Not when his father was alive. Back then he called first. Always.
Now?
Now he acted like the place already belonged to him. I forced my hands to stay steady as I stood at the sink, staring out the window as his car rolled into view. Don't act afraid. That thought came fast.
Sharp.
Because something told me he'd notice. The front door opened without knocking. "Morning, Mom." His voice was casual. Too casual. I turned slowly. He walked in holding 2 coffees, setting one in front of me like everything was normal. "You look tired," he added, studying my face just a little too closely. "I didn't sleep well," I said evenly. That much was true. He nodded, sitting across from me, but he didn't relax. His eyes moved around the kitchen, subtle but deliberate. Checking. Measuring. When his gaze paused briefly on the hallway leading to my husband's old office, something cold slid through my chest.
"We need to talk," he said.
There it was. Right on schedule. I leaned back slightly. "About." He exhaled slowly, like he'd practiced this. "Your situation. My situation." I almost smiled. "Go on." He folded his hands together. "Sienna and I have been going over things. The property, your finances, your health. My health." I cut in. "Mom, just listen," he said, sharper now. "You've been alone a long time. This place, it's too much." There it was again. Too much. Same words. Same tone. Same script. "I've handled it just fine," I said. "For now," he replied quickly. "But that won't last forever. Taxes are increasing. Repairs, insurance, and what if something happens out here?" Something happens. The words hit differently now. "Like what?" I asked quietly. He hesitated. Just for a second. But I saw it. "An accident," he said. My stomach turned. The word echoed in my head. My death wasn't an accident. The voice from last night wrapped around my thoughts like a tightening grip. Before I could respond, the front door opened again. Sienna. Of course. She walked in without greeting me, already scrolling on her phone, her expression tight and focused. "I went through your accounts," she said, like she was commenting on the weather. My head snapped toward her. "You did what?" She finally looked up, offering a thin smile. "Relax. Caleb has access. I just organized things. I never gave permission for that." "You don't have to," she replied smoothly. "We're family."
Family.
The word felt hollow. She stepped closer, placing her phone on the table. "You're burning through savings faster than you realize," she continued. "At this rate, you won't be able to maintain this place for long." "I am fine," I said, my voice colder now. She tilted her head slightly. "Are you?" Silence stretched. Then, because from where I'm standing, she added softly, "It looks like grief is affecting your judgment." There it was.
The shift. Subtle.
Calculated. They weren't just suggesting anymore. They were building a case. Caleb leaned forward. "Mom, we've been discussing a temporary solution." My pulse slowed. Too slow. "What kind of solution?" I asked. He glanced at Sienna. She answered. "Guardianship." The word hit like a physical blow. I stared at them. "You want legal control over me?" "It's not like that," Caleb said quickly. "It's just until things stabilize." "No," I said. Sienna didn't flinch. "If you agree to sell the property and relocate," she said calmly, "none of that will be necessary." And there it was. The real goal. Not concern. Control. "And if I don't?" I asked quietly. Caleb looked away. Sienna didn't. "Then we move forward without your cooperation." A chill spread through me. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Living out here alone at your age," she said softly, "it's risky. Accidents happen all the time." My chair scraped loudly as I stood. "Get out." Caleb blinked. Mom, get out of my house. Neither of them moved at first. Then Sienna picked up her phone, already dialing something. Caleb followed her out, but before leaving, he looked back at me. And for the first time in my life, I didn't see my son. I saw someone calculating. Someone waiting. The door closed behind them, and just like that, everything became clear. They weren't trying to help me. They were trying to remove me, because of what was buried beneath my land. And whatever it was, they were willing to destroy me to get it. After they left, I didn't break down. No tears. No panic. Just movement. I cleaned. Not because the house was dirty, but because I needed control over something. I washed the untouched coffee cups. I wiped the table where Sienna had placed her phone. I scrubbed the counter harder than necessary, like I could erase the conversation from the wood itself. But I couldn't, because the truth had already settled in. This wasn't about concern. This wasn't about my health. This was about the land. And whatever my husband had died protecting. By noon, there was nothing left to clean. So I did the one thing I had avoided for over a year. I walked down the hallway and opened his office. The air inside felt different.
Still.
Preserved, like time had paused the moment he left. The faint scent of cedar and machine oil lingered, instantly pulling memories to the surface. Late nights, quiet focus, the hum of his old desk lamp. For months, I had kept that door closed because grief lived in that room. Now I realized something else did too. Answers. I stepped inside and shut the door behind me. Locked it. Not out of habit. Out of instinct. His desk looked untouched, but something felt off. Not obvious. Subtle. Like things had been moved just slightly out of place. I started with the filing cabinet. At first, everything looked normal. Tax records, land surveys, maintenance receipts. But then I noticed something strange.
Dates.
Several documents had been shifted. Not removed, repositioned. Like someone had wanted them found, but only by the right person. My pulse quickened. I dug deeper. Behind the property deed, I found a thin, hidden folder. Inside, bank statements I had never seen. Withdrawals. Small amounts. Spread out over months.
Carefully spaced.
Always below reporting limits. Always in cash. My breath caught. My husband hated cash. He believed in records, paper trails, accountability. If he was withdrawing money like this, it meant he didn't want anyone tracking it. Or worse, he didn't trust the system at all. I sat down slowly. Why? I whispered. Then it hit me. The last year of his life. The changes. The nights he couldn't sleep. The long walks alone. The way he started locking the barn when he never had before. The arguments. The way he told me to stay away from the north side of the property. I had thought it was overprotectiveness. Now I knew it was fear. I kept searching. At the bottom of the drawer, tucked beneath old manuals, I found a folded piece of yellow paper. My name written across the front. My hands trembled as I opened it.
Naomi.
If you're reading this, I ran out of time. Do not ask questions where others can hear. The truth is buried. Silence is what kept you safe. My vision blurred.
Buried.
The word echoed loudly in my head. The call. The truth is beneath you. I pushed back from the desk, my heart racing. No, I whispered. No, no. I turned to his computer. It powered on slowly, like it hadn't been touched in months. Password protected. Of course. I tried our anniversary.
Wrong.
I tried Caleb's birthday.
Wrong.
I hesitated, then typed the address of the first house he ever owned, before we even met. The screen unlocked instantly. My stomach dropped. Files. Emails. Folders. Everything neatly organized.
Too neatly.
I opened the first email thread. A criminal defense attorney. Out of state. Short messages. Careful wording. No details, but enough to know something serious had been happening. Why would my husband need a criminal lawyer? I scrolled further. Photos.
Dozens of them.
Taken at night. The edge of our land. Tire tracks in mud. Equipment I didn't recognize. And one image that made my blood run cold. A section of the forest. The north slope. The exact place he had forbidden me from going. Zoomed in, there was an opening. Not natural. Not obvious.
But there.
Hidden. Deliberate. My chest tightened painfully. He hadn't just been worried. He had found something. Something big enough to scare him. Something dangerous enough to keep from me. And suddenly, everything connected. The pressure to sell. The sudden concern. The word accident. My phone buzzed sharply in my hand. I jumped. Unknown number. A message. You're looking in the right place. Do not confront them. They're already watching. My throat went dry. Watching. I slowly turned my head toward the window. The trees stood still.
Silent.
But they didn't feel empty anymore. They felt occupied. My husband hadn't just died protecting a secret. He had left me a trail. Not to understand. To survive. And now, whoever had been watching him was watching me too. I didn't leave the house for the rest of the day. Not out of fear. Out of awareness. There's a difference. Fear makes you freeze. Awareness makes you watch back. I moved quietly from room to room, keeping lights low, curtains partially drawn. Every sound carried weight now. The hum of the refrigerator, the creak of old wood, the distant rustle of wind through trees. But by late afternoon, something changed. A truck rolled past the end of my driveway.
Slow.
Too slow. It didn't turn in, didn't stop, just passed. I told myself it meant nothing, until it came back. Same speed, same hesitation. This time, it lingered half a second longer before disappearing again. My chest tightened. They're already watching. The message echoed in my head. I stepped away from the window slowly, forcing myself not to react. Don't show fear. Don't show awareness. That's how you stay in control. At 6:42 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number again. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? If you're alone, don't hang up. The voice was male.
Calm.
Controlled. Not distorted. Not familiar. But careful. Who is this? I asked quietly. Someone your husband trusted when he ran out of options. My pulse quickened. My name is Adrian Cross, he continued. And you don't have much time. I sat down slowly. What do you want? To keep you alive. Silence stretched between us. Start talking, I said.
A breath.
There's a tunnel under your land, he said. My heart skipped. Older than the house. It was originally built decades ago. Mining access, but it connects to natural chambers. Hidden ones. Unmapped. I gripped the edge of the table. No one was supposed to know about it, he continued. But your son found it years ago. My stomach dropped. No, I whispered. He realized what it could be used for, Adrian said. Storage. Movement. Things that don't exist on paper. What things? I demanded. A pause. Illegal shipments. Cash transfers. Equipment. People. The word people hit hardest. The room felt smaller. Colder. Your husband noticed signs, Adrian went on. Tracks where there shouldn't be any. Activity at night. Equipment being moved quietly. I remembered. The late nights. The dirt on his boots. The way he avoided my questions. He followed it, Adrian said. And eventually he found the entrance. My hands curled into fists. He documented everything. Photos, schedules, names. He tried to stop it quietly. By confronting Caleb? I asked. Yes. My breath caught. He gave your son a chance to walk away. And, I whispered. Silence. Then, once you're inside something like that, you don't walk away. A cold, crushing weight settled in my chest. What happened to my husband? I asked, even though I already knew. Adrian didn't soften it. His car was forced off the road. My vision blurred. I was following at a distance, he added quietly. By the time I reached him, it was too late. Something inside me didn't break. It hardened. Not anger. Not grief.
Clarity.
They're pushing you to sell because they're losing control, Adrian continued. If the land changes hands, the tunnels disappear under permits, construction, evidence gone forever. Everything clicked into place. The pressure. The guardianship. The threats disguised as concern. They want me gone, I said. Yes. Or dead. A pause. Yes. The words settled heavily between us. I closed my eyes briefly, then opened them again. Steady. Focused. What do I do? I asked. Another pause.
Then,
You don't run. My grip tightened on the phone. You make them come to you. Silence.
slow.
Intentional?
How?
I asked. His voice dropped slightly. You find what your husband left behind, a beat, and you use it to destroy them before they erase you. The call ended. No goodbye. No reassurance. Just truth. I sat there for a long time, the phone still in my hand, my reflection faintly visible in the dark window across the room. For years, I had believed this land held memories, love,
History.
now I knew better. It held secrets, danger, and proof strong enough to tear my family apart. I slowly stood and looked toward the back of the property, toward the north slope. The place my husband had warned me about. The place I had avoided for decades. Not anymore. Because if the truth was buried there, then that's exactly where I was going next. And this time, I wasn't going as a victim. I was going as the woman they underestimated.